What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Design Lounge. Today I'm going to be recreating this Harry Potter poster. I originally made this poster about 8 years ago and have since lost all of the master files. All I have left is a flattened JPEG. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be recreating it in Illustrator and then finishing up the effects in Photoshop. Before we get started, please hit the like and subscribe button below and also click the bell for notifications. It'll notify you every time I upload a new video. Now let's get started. Alright, so as I said in the intro, I only have this flattened version of a JPEG. Don't have any of those original effects or anything. Although I'm not going to do, I'm probably not going to do it exactly the way that this is shown right here. But what I'm going to do here is just go in and just kind of recreate it in general and just kind of show you how I did it. It's actually pretty simple. So we're going to start off just with a rectangle tool right here. And it doesn't really matter what the height is. So what I'm going to do is, since there are 7 books, I'm just going to duplicate this 6 times. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And now just grab all of these right here. And then we'll just enter the final size as 24 by 36 across all the boards. And then I'm just going to kind of go in and kind of color sample these. I'd like to get like around, the most representative shade for each one of these right here. And these colors don't necessarily relate to the books or the stories or anything like that. I just recall when I was designing this that I just liked the way that these colors worked together with each other. And I'm sure that they because like I'm sorry, I kind of lost my train of thought there. When I was, whenever I look at this color palette, like it definitely screams Harry Potter to me. So I know that, like the Deathly Hallows book definitely has that gold type of shade to it and everything. And Half-Blood Prince is also green and everything. So there was probably some kind of thought process behind that, but nothing's really jumping out to me as being super obvious about it. So. All right, so what we're going to do here is, actually, now that I'm thinking all this through, it's probably not going to be that long of a video. So it could be a pro or a con. I don't know. All right, so this font right here, I don't really remember what the font is necessarily, but I'm just gonna one thing that I know I was using Poppins a lot, so it's possible that it could be Poppins. And I think actually now that I look at it, I think that it is Poppins. So yeah, if that's definitely it, then let's go ahead and just use Poppins. It's a great font, so I'm just gonna use that. All right, so let's just kind of do this right here. I'm going to set my optical, and then I'm just going to do what I did before with the rectangles, just duplicate it. Okay, and then so chamber, actually want to make sure that all of these are centered. There we go. And prisoner, goblet, order, prince, hallows. All right, I don't specifically remember what it was that that kind of inspired me to originally make this. You know what? Just while I'm thinking about it, I think that I may actually add a margin around it, and then we'll make that margin the same. Actually, I think I may want to bring it in just a little bit more, just to kind of help frame it a little bit better, But yeah, I don't remember what originally inspired this. I think that I saw something along the lines of this somewhere on the internet, and I was like, oh, they probably had the same idea to do to do it, but just in a completely different design. So what I'd like to do here is, similar to what we've done in the past, we're not going to go 100% white because we want those effects to show up when we add the effects. And I think that I may also give it a little bit of this type of color right here, because it looks like I was doing that, but I don't know if that texture necessarily comes from the paper overlay that I used, or if the text was actually that color. So I guess we'll find out. Like I said, I did design this originally about 8 years ago. And the reason that I'm redoing it now is because I have a friend of mine who saw it, and she said, "Can you make me another one?" And I only had the small compressed version, so I don't know what happened to those master files. But I was like, yeah, no problem. I just got to recreate it, so I figured I'd make a video out of it. Why not? And one of the things that I love that Illustrator now has that they didn't have when I first made this is you can align your text according to the actual glyphs of the text and not just the actual text box or even the type area box. So so whenever I align these, it's looking at everything from the baseline right here all the way up to the cap height, and it's aligning it to that instead of aligning it to the arbitrary box that's inside that includes the space for the descenders, which is great. All right, so I'm gonna make this background out of the same color as the text right there, so that it's sure to pick up on all of those effects. Okay, and last thing I want to do is recreate this lightning bolt, and that is not going to be hard at all. So just grab the pen tool, and I'm going to switch it over to bright yellow just so I can see it clearly as I'm working with it. I think I might actually make that. Let's just kind of bring it out just a little bit. I want to try to get it as close as possible because I've always liked how the lightning bolt goes down the middle of that L right there. I've always loved that. So I want to make sure that I get it as close as I possibly can to the original. Okay. All right, so what we'll do here, that will actually be its own separate layer when we go into Photoshop, but I just want to get like a visual of what it'll look like on this mock-up here. So we're gonna go all the way up, and what I may have to do, because this is like perfectly center, but what I may have to do is just kind of adjust it just a little bit. Actually, looks like I'm barely gonna have to adjust it at all. Yeah, just one little nudge over is what gets it going right down the middle of that L. That's pretty cool. All right, so now I'm gonna just slightly adjust the sizing. Actually, I should have done that first, right? I wonder, yeah, I kind of like that being at 31 and then everything else being at 30. So I'm just gonna nudge this over some so that it goes straight down the middle. I've always liked that. Okay, so that just kind of gives me like a visual of what this will look like. So now what I'm gonna do is, you know what? I'm glad I thought of this. I want to include the bleed. There we go. So that when this actually does print, all of my numbers are exactly where I want it to be. Okay, so now I'm going to select all of, well, I'm not going to select all of it. I'm only going to select the text and the individual boxes, and then I'll recreate the background color using Photoshop. I'll just grab the hex value, and then we'll bring in the lightning bolt separately. Okay, so here we are in Photoshop, and this is the exact same dimensions of the document. So I'm going to paste this as a smart object. So that way, if I need to go back into Illustrator to edit anything at all, I can easily just double click on it. Although I really hope that they fix it soon, because I'm still not able to do it after upgrading to the latest version of, what is it, High Sierra? Is that right? I believe that's right. Okay. So let's so there's that, and let's grab the lightning bolt and let's bring it all the way up to 100%. Also paste that as a smart object, and what we'll do there is we'll actually use a blending mode, so that so that you can still see the lightning bolt and everything, but it's going to show through those different layers of paper that we're going to be using. And then we'll grab this hex value right here, and we'll just put this as the background solid color. Okay, so we have everything exactly the way that we want it to be. I'm not going to be going back in and editing this lightning bolt. It's exactly the dimensions, the resolution that I want. So I'm going to go ahead and rasterize the layer so that way I can easily apply those blending modes and have them show up. All right, so what I'm going to do now is go into my design resources. I don't remember at all. This was 8 years ago when I originally made this. I don't remember which paper I used, but I'm just going to use a different one. I'm not going to go in and try to look for that. So this one right here is very Harry Potter-ish. It kind of looks like the Marauders map a little bit. So although it is very small, we're going to have to see what it looks like once I rotate it and enlarge it, and hopefully it's not losing too much of its clarity. I'm going to unlock this and just kind of slightly enlarge it so that way we don't have that annoying border on the edges. And this is actually looking pretty good considering that we enlarged it all the way up to the full size. But what we can do here is we can kind of hide some of that some of those artifacts just a little bit, and we'll do that in just a few minutes. But what I want to do first is I want to start applying the blending mode to the art itself and just kind of see how everything falls. I'm going to hide that lightning bolt. And depending on how these affect the layers at the bottom, okay, there we go. I think overlay is probably going to be my favorite with that because it still maintains those colors. Hard light is interesting. Vivid light is interesting. If we did, no, okay. Sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. Okay, and you can do all kinds of cool combinations of things, but I think that we're just going to go with overlay. There we go. All right, so overlay. Generally, most of the time, overlay is really the best option for what you're doing. And as you can see, because we didn't make the text in 100% white, we're able to pick up those effects from the paper inside of the text right there. So, all right, so what I'm going to do now is bring back our lightning bolt. And as you can see, the texture is also applied to the lightning bolt because the lightning bolt is almost black. It's not 100% black. So it's going to show all of those textures as well. So now what we're going to do is go through blending modes for the lightning bolt. And what I want is something similar to what we achieved before in the original poster, and overlay looks like overlay is going to be the winner again. So there's overlay. Soft light is pretty cool too. Like, it's definitely a little bit more subtle, but overlay, I think I'm wanting, I don't know. I'm kind of torn between the two of them. That's interesting. Kind of torn between the two of them. I may end up going with difference or even subtract. It doesn't have to be anything super crazy necessarily. It just needs to be obvious that it's there. So let's go into overlay and then soft light and just kind of see. And let's also look back at the original file and see, kind of get an idea of how dramatic those differences are. So as you can see, like it goes in and it really darkens all of those areas right there. So if we were to go with overlay, then we would achieve kind of the same effect there. So I think that I may actually leave it as overlay because my friend wants it to be, she saw the poster, she wants it to be as close as possible. So I'm just going to kind of nudge this over a little bit. Photoshop gives you a lot more control over nudging, pixels, because it literally does it 1 pixel at a time. So that's good. And as far as that goes, it's going straight down the middle of that L. Actually, I think one more over is going to be the best for that. So I think that I'll leave it just like that. And so now what we'll do is I'm not too crazy about this like coffee stain type of circle right here. I really like it, but I'm not too crazy about it in this particular poster. I think it's drawing too much attention to itself. So I think I'm just going to get rid of it. There we go. All right, so besides that, everything else works really well here. So now what we'll do is we'll add a layer of grain, and we're just going to apply it directly to the top of the paper layer itself. So I'm going to go in, add some grain, and if you've watched any of my previous videos, well, most of them really, especially when I'm working in Photoshop and designing posters. I add a lot of grain to my posters because, you know, a lot of the times I go in and I add in some paper overlays that need to be enlarged, and when you do that, you're showing a lot of those artifacts and everything. So a layer of grain, even applied really lightly, can help to mask those artifacts. Sometimes it can be a little bit too strong, but other times it gives you the effect that, you know, the exact effect of what you're looking for. So I think soft light is going to be what I go with. And actually, now that I'm looking at this, I think I'm going to reapply this with the same settings that I did just a second ago. I think it was 75, and I think I'm going to bring in a vignette, because I think that would look nice, just to kind of frame it a little bit. And it's also kind of a really, really subtle call to the movie Prisoner of Azkaban. You know, all those vignette shots that the director did, Alfonso Cuarón. Sorry if I butchered the name. I think that's how you pronounce it. But yeah, so this is really kind of hiding those artifacts that come from enlarging that paper overlay. And then sometimes I go in and I add like a Gaussian blur to the grain layer, and I think that if I do this, it's going to be real subtle, maybe like between a 1 and a 1.5, just to kind of help soften it just a little bit. And then may try the same thing here to the actual artwork itself, just to kind of give it a little bit more of an authentic feel. I think 2.0 is good right there. You know, it just gives it a little bit more of an authentic feel. Just, you know, feels more tangible, like not super crisp, clean, you know, text, and then also just artwork in general. So I think that I'm pretty happy with this, and I'm going to leave it just like this. And shoot, I may even get it printed out myself. Of course, where am I going to put it? You know, I just have posters everywhere. I've got, you know, just posters that I need to, like, I need to stop printing posters out. It's a problem. Okay, so here we go. So here is my Harry Potter minimalist titles for the book and movie series, going from the Sorcerer's Stone all the way down to the Deathly Hallows. Let me know what you think of this in the comments. All right, thanks a lot for watching me design that Harry Potter poster. That was a lot of fun. Just a reminder, please hit like and subscribe at the bottom, and also click the bell for notifications to be notified every time I upload a new video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.